Are you trying to make maps in RStudio? Well, if you are, I hope you're one of the fortunate few whose data source gives you latitude and longitude. If you're like the rest of us, you're going to have to geocode your data before you can get it onto any maps. Now, there's a few different packages out there available for geocoding properties. In order to geocode, we need some sort of locational features, whether it's an address, city, zip, and if you want to get specific, the more information you have, the better. For real estate data, address, city, zip, state, those are 4 key variables that we need to geocode properties accurately. So we're going to take a look at a few different providers that can do that for us, and I'll give you pros and cons of each. I'll give you my preference, and then we'll get into some code to show you exactly how to geocode your properties. So let's go ahead and get to mapping. 3 common geocoding packages are ggmap, Censusxy, and Tidygeocoder. All 3 have pros, all 3 have cons. I've used a lot of Censusxy in the past, and now I'm currently using Tidygeocoder. I started with ggmaps, but let me tell you about each. So ggmap requires a Google API in order to geocode. Now that can run into some expenses if you exceed monthly allotments. So if you're running a lot of data points, that could cost you some money. Now, the benefit of ggmap is that you can actually map with that package as well. It kind of works with the ggplot ecosystem, and you can start plotting stuff right into maps using that same package. The other 2 packages are specifically for geocoding and gathering data, but not producing maps. Censusxy has been a great package. It uses the U.S. Census Bureau API to geocode properties. They allow batch geocoding, and they have some pretty fast servers, so you can do a lot of points in a quick time. Here's the situation with Censusxy. The maintainer of that package asked CRAN to archive the package. It's still available through the archive, but I'm not sure what the future holds for that package, if it's going to be maintained and updated, or if they are putting the package to rest. And if you are currently using that and are migrating to another computer, you can still get the package from the archive and download it and get it installed. And you can also go to the GitHub from the maintainer and get the package that way. But I've moved on to Tidygeocoder. It offers benefits of both of the prior 2 packages, and so far I haven't really run into any downsides of the package. It's got one feature that I really like, which is a cascade feature. That allows me to search U.S. Census Bureau first, and then if I don't get some hits on some of my observations, then it goes to the next provider and searches that way. And I've had really good results using this cascade feature. So I highly recommend Tidygeocoder. Again, I haven't found any cons for that package yet. It's available on CRAN, so you can get it installed right through RStudio. Depending on the provider you use, the results can be very fast, and it works with multiple providers as long as you have APIs for them, or some of them don't allow batch processing. Some of them cost fees, but you can go through and decide which ones you want to use and use those with Tidygeocoder. So let's go ahead and take a look at getting Censusxy installed in case you need that. And we'll do a quick geocode on Censusxy, and then I'm going to focus on Tidygeocoder. If you want information on ggmap, I'll go ahead and provide a link where you can get the package and package information. Okay, let's get Censusxy installed. First thing we're going to do is go to the Packages tab. We'll click Install. And we're not going to install from the repository. Remember, it's no longer available through CRAN. It is available in the archive. So let's stop and take a look at where we get that on the archive. Here is a link to the archived file, and the file that we want is going to be the last one. It has the last date in 2022. We will click on that link. We'll save it to our downloads folder, and then we will install that .tar.gz file. So we're going to change this install from repository to a package archive. And there we see it has that .tar.gz. Automatically opens up to the last folder you had opened, so navigate to wherever you saved that file. I saved it here. I'm going to click on it, then click open, and we can click install. And it will go ahead and install that package. Now we're done. Now we're in the Censusxy part. Here we need the library. So now that it's been installed, it should be available to us. So we can Control Enter to run that. Now the package has been libraried and it's available for us to run. Now to geocode with Censusxy is relatively easy. I have this A data frame. We call it Geo here. We're going to do the assignment operator, and we will be using the cxy_geocode function. When we select our ADF4, we're going to start there. We'll transform that into ADF Geo, and we need street equals. And let's just take a look at our names. We could run names, or we can simply look at it here in the environment pane. Our street name here is called address, so we want that in quotes. Address, and we need city equals, and ours is called city. And we need zip equals zip. And do I have a state field in there? I do have a state field, so we can add state equals state as well. And that is it. What that's going to do is mutate the ADF4 data frame with a couple of new fields, one for longitude, one for latitude, and then saves it as the ADF Geo data frame. Let's go ahead and run that, and then we'll take a look. Looks like it's done. It's already geocoded those. Let's minimize that one and look at ADF Geo. And at the end here, you see we have CXY long and CXY lat. You see there are some NAs in there. Typically, I find that happens with newer construction where it hasn't been geocoded yet by the U.S. Census Bureau. And that's why I like that cascade function in Tidygeocoder. But with these, you are now able to map your data. And that is it for Censusxy. Now let's take a look at Tidygeocoder. This package is available in the CRAN repository, so you can use the standard install procedures for that. So we won't do that here. Let's go ahead and library the package. Library Tidygeocoder, Control Enter. And now let's go ahead and create an ADF. We'll call this one Tidy. And the function for this one is simply called Geocode. Again, we'll use ADF4 and street equals. It's basically the same process as above we have here. City equals city, although here we have to use postal code instead of zip. Just because it works with several different providers, and that's the format that they need to use. And then there's one last thing that we need to do here, which is slightly different from Censusxy. We need to specify a method. In other words, which geocoding provider we're going to use. In this case, we're going to use U.S. Census Bureau again. We'll run that. We'll see that it parsed 61 addresses in 2.2 seconds. We now have ADF Tidygeocoder, and this one, it calls them lat and long instead of CXY lat, CXY long. Notice we get the same NAs on these. Now let's take a look at using the cascade method of Tidygeocoder. We're going to start out in a similar manner, specifying an ADF. We'll call this one ADF Tidy2. Now, we need to specify the originating data frame first. Then we will use the new function name Geocode combine. So here we need to create some lists. We're going to list the methods that we're going to use. And I like to continue to stick with Census Bureau first because that is fast and free and does batch geocoding. And the next method that I like is Geocoding. Now this one requires an API, so you will have to install an API in order to use this method. But they allow batch processing, they have fast servers, and they have a high allotment. You can use up your allotment, and then you would have to start paying, or they will kind of cut you off. And we need to specify some global parameters, and here we're going to build a list of those parameters, and it's just going to be the same as we used up here except without the method. So we'll copy that and just paste it right in there. And the last thing we need to do is specify that cascade equals true. And let's go ahead and run this. Now it's passing 61 to US Census Bureau, and then it passed 23 addresses to Geocoding. So now we have this ADF Tidy2 in our environment. This is still ADF Tidy, the original one, and we have the NAs there. So let's take a look at those and our lat long here. Notice that there are no NAs, and that it gave this additional variable in here, query, and it tells us which API provider, geocode provider, was used to get these coordinates. In this case, Geocoding, Census. We can take a look at some of those, review that. Latitude and longitude coordinates, the query was from Geocoding, Census, Geocoding, etc. So it's a cascade feature. You can build your own cascade. Again, if you want to use Geocoding, you do have to install an API. There are other providers out there that do not require API, like Census. Some of them run a little bit slower. I like to have this faster query used. So if you find the cascade feature is beneficial to you, then I would recommend Geocoding. They generally have pretty good hits, and they are very fast. As you saw, 2.3 seconds for the 61 addresses to the Census Bureau, and then 1.2 seconds for another 23 addresses to Geocoding. I'll go ahead and add in some links to Tidygeocoder so that you can see some of the other providers that they use as well that are available to you. That's it for geocoding. I hope this was beneficial to you. If it was, please consider liking and subscribing, and we'll hope to see you on some future videos. Thanks for watching.